What's going on, everyone? Welcome into the Broncos Breakdown. Now, on today's show, we're going to talk about a couple of things, starting off with a potential free agent target and Yannick Ngakoue. Then we're going to talk schedule buzz. We got some other little nuggets to round up, if you will. But let's jump into the show with the former Indianapolis Colts edge rusher, Yannick Ngakoue, because Bleacher Report included the Broncos as a destination for the former Maryland Terrapin. Now, remember, Denver already made an addition to the defensive line, which is why I'm going to note that verbally early on and say maybe pump the brakes a little bit on adding Ngakoue, because Sean Payton and George Payton kind of added what they wanted to get on the defensive line in Zach Allen to the tune of $45.7 million. So maybe they just thought they had to pick one or the other, and they didn't think Ngakoue would still be available, and that might change their mind and go, well, we didn't think we could get both, but since Ngakoue is still available and his price has gone down, yeah, we're not going to turn him down for that price, but I don't think that's ultimately going to be the case. Now, what's kind of weird is Ngakoue last season had a lot of great numbers, but PFF hated him. I mean, did not like him whatsoever, especially when you look at what he's done over the last 4 seasons. He has never gone below 8 sacks once in his career. He was a 9.5 sack guy last year for the Colts. The season prior with Vegas, 10 sacks. Vikings and Ravens, 8 sacks. To get traded mid-season, still put up some good numbers. I mean, Ngakoue has never had an issue with getting after the quarterback. So why is he still available? We're going to answer that question in just a moment. But let's also look at the other teams that Bleacher Report mentioned as potential destinations for Ngakoue. The Falcons, that makes a lot of sense, and the Bears with it. Those were the 2 worst pass rushing units in football last year. The Ravens lost a lot of guys in free agency. Okay. Denver, like we just mentioned, and maybe a reunion with Jacksonville? Maybe. But this is what I was kind of alluding to a moment ago. My big question is, why is Ngakoue still a free agent? Why has no one signed him? I really don't know if I can get a good answer on this question. And this might be one of those questions that GMs have the answer to, and everyone in the media and fans think they know, but they really don't know. Just like when we talk about Will Levis going number 4, and then he doesn't get drafted in the first round altogether. It's like, oh, so GMs are actually living in a whole different planet than the Bleacher Report articles of the world. Is it he wants too much money, right? Does he believe his value is way higher than how GMs have him? Or is there another concern? Let's look at some more on Ngakoue here. One of those concerns could be he's got a rainbow closet in that he has played for 5 teams over the last 4 seasons. So a lot of jerseys in there and not a lot of stability. And maybe there is something to no team really seeing him long term. So Denver's not rushing to get in line to just have him for 1 season. Another issue might be, yeah, he's always had 8 sacks each season, but the pressures, right? And that's sort of what I like to call the OPS of the NFL, right? If sacks is average, where average used to be the thing everyone looks at, then pressures might be the more underlying stat GMs look at, because pressures tell you how often they just disrupted a play altogether. Whereas sacks is, hey, he sacked the quarterback 8 times. What was he doing the other 50 plays on defense, though, right? How many times was he knocking down the quarterback? How many times was he hurrying the quarterback and forcing a bad throw? Ngakoue, for what it's worth, is not that old. He's 28. But I want to look at pressures a bit closer, because last season Ngakoue had 44 pressures. And I want to compare that to Denver's current pass rushing unit and other guys they had last year, like Bradley Chubb. For reference, Chubb had 51 pressures and a similar amount of snaps. Baron Browning, 6 off of Yannick Ngakoue, but look at the drop-off in snaps, right? The idea being if Baron Browning got 733 snaps, he'd be way higher than 44 pressures at a fraction of the cost. Zach Allen, 35 pressures, again, fewer snaps than Yannick Ngakoue. Randy Gregory, pretty good ratio, not a math guy, but 20 pressures for 187 snaps. That's why Denver gave him a 5-year contract. If they can get him up to 742 snaps, he could be closer to 60 pressures in an entire season. Now, the pinned comment on today's show. Should Denver go out and sign Ngakoue? Simple Y for yes or N for no. Doesn't take up too much time. Let me know what your thoughts are down below. YouTube likes to put ad breaks around this time, so if they do, just take advantage of it and give me your responses to our pinned comment. When we look at Denver's front 5, could they stand to add another edge rusher? To this, I say yeah, right? I don't think Ngakoue would be an outside linebacker. I think he would be another down lineman alongside Zach Allen and DJ Jones. He's too undersized to be a 3 technique like Jonathan Harris, but maybe he could be a 5 technique. Maybe he could be an outside linebacker. I mean, we've seen Denver reshuffle a lot of players. Browning going from inside to outside. Drew Sanders kind of going from outside to inside. But the 4 big pass rushers Denver has on their roster right now. Here are their stats from last year. Anything jump out to anyone? How about the sack leader? Zach Allen. Wasn't even on the team. And his peak was 5.5 sacks. Now, he only played 13 games. But the point is, Denver's going into the season without any tangible evidence of their 4 top guys have gone over 10 sacks at any point in their at any point in their career, right? There's a lot of optimism, and I think they are just sort of getting through this year knowing they can't address every single need in one offseason, and they hope that this unit stays healthy and gets better. It's not going to be the best pass rush unit in the NFL, but as a collection, as a group effort, it can be a darn good one. So I can see how Denver can be optimistic about it, but at the same time, Ngakoue's floor is 8 sacks. So if the highest you've got is 5.5 last year, Ngakoue is going to look pretty good next to this unit to help get the pass rush going. Now, I want to give some shout outs here to some of our new subscribers. And if you want to get a shout out on a future show, simply hit the subscribe button. It's completely free. Devontae Figures, Austin Long, Jonathan Putnam, Kyle Peggs. Thank you guys so much for subscribing and joining our Broncos YouTube community. And hey, you can be on screen. You can get a shout out by simply hitting that sub button. Now, I want to talk about the NFL schedule release. It is coming out tomorrow, 6 p.m. Mountain Time, and we've already got a bit of a rumor. Now, I'm definitely stretching this rumor a tad, but bear with me because it's kind of fun. It's the off season. So we're going to look at this, but first things first, I should say maximum 2 primetime games. No more. After last year, unless the NFL wants to see Denver burn and suffer, no more primetime games out of the 1 Thursday night, 1 Monday night football game. Do not do this to America, Roger Goodell. No one wants to see Denver play Thursday night, Monday night, and Sunday night all in the span of 6 weeks again. That was disastrous last year. With the Seahawks game, the 49ers game, you had the Chargers game on Sunday Night Football, you had the Thursday Night Football game against Indy, all in the first 8-9 weeks of the season. No. Just 2 games. Don't make Denver the laughingstock of the NFL again. Now, Denver's home schedule this upcoming season, these are the teams that we know for sure they are playing at Mile High. We just don't know when. You got your usual divisional matchups. The NFC North is their cross-division opponent this year. Packers, Minnesota. They've got the Pats and the Jets along with the Browns and the Commanders. As for their away schedule, 8 road games this year, 3 divisional matchups. They go to Chicago and Detroit. They also play the AFC East with Buffalo and Miami. And the Houston Texans are their rotational AFC matchup for finishing last in the division. So the schedule rumor now, as I have drawn this out for a little bit, Aric DiLalla, the Broncos team reporter, put out his schedule prediction, and he had the Denver Broncos traveling to Miami Gardens Week 1 and taking on Vic Fangio and Bradley Chubb for some drama rematch type game. And honestly, I can kind of get behind it. Now, it was just his prediction, but I don't know. When you're the team beat reporter, maybe you come across something you weren't supposed to, right? Maybe a piece of paper gets left in the break room and you're like, oh, top secret information, do not share with anyone. Broncos 2023 schedule. How about I make a prediction article? I can't go 100% because that's going to look too fishy, but I'll get some of them right. I mean, I know I'm definitely reaching here, but you got to admit, I think Denver going to Miami Week 1 would be a lot of fun for the Broncos to, ease into the season and not be tossed into the spotlight with a primetime game Week 1 to continue being the laughing stock after last year. Now, here was the rest of his schedule prediction. He had the Broncos going Dolphins Week 1, Jets Week 2 Monday night. The Jets are going to play 6. The Jets will be this year. The Jets will be the 2022 Broncos. They will get 6 primetime games, and they will not win more than 2 of them. Week 3 against the Raiders. Week 4 at Chicago on Thursday night. Then followed up with a trip to Kansas City. Week 6 and 7, home against Minnesota and Cleveland. Week 8 against Houston on the road. Week 9, home against Green Bay. I mean, looking at some of those games there, you're going to Chicago in Week 4, so that's probably a good time to go to the Windy City. It won't be too miserable or cold. You got some like chilly-ish games in Week 6 and 7 at home, but that's just par for the course. Week 10's their bye. Moving along with DiLalla's schedule prediction, Week 11 against the Patriots. Week 12 at Detroit. Week 13 at the Chargers on Sunday Night Football. Okay. Week 18 against the Chiefs. Week 15 against the Commanders. 16 against the Bills. And then you round out the season with the Chargers and the Raiders. That sounds about right to me right there. So if you had to pick one game to go to, which game would it be? I'm trying to think for myself here. I think the Dolphins game could be a lot of fun. I went to the Dolphins Stadium in, I guess, like January 1st. I went for the Orange Bowl, Tennessee Clemson. It was a pretty good stadium. Other ones I kind of like, maybe go to Soldier Field, see the Bears. Yeah, let me know which game you would like to see if you had the ability to go to any Broncos game this season. Now, before we get on out of here, I just wanted to talk about this for, 30, 45 seconds. So the Suns game yesterday or last night, Sean Payton was in attendance along with Russell Wilson and Tim Patrick. Are we playing favorites already? Maybe. I don't know. Tim Patrick was there. Jerry Jeudy wasn't. Cortland Sutton wasn't. I don't know if Sean Payton and Russell Wilson have identified their go-to wide receiver, but this could be one of those moments where if Tim Patrick emerges as wide receiver 1 this year, this is where it started from. This is where it started from. This Nuggets-Suns game. So just put that out there. You guys can make up your own mind of as to what to make of this. But Tim Patrick, a bit of a class, teacher's pet right now. Some shout-outs, though, I want to give to those of you that shared our videos over on Twitter. Combat Wombat, ZSPN, Chad Richards, Thad, and Kendrick Major. Thank you guys so much for sharing our videos over on Twitter and tagging me. I also put out a call to say, pick a random player and we will talk about him. One that was submitted was Greg Dulcich. So let's talk about the flow for a moment. Because remember, Greg Dulcich had an all-time coming-out game. I guess it was Week 5 last year against the Chargers on Monday Night Football. Went off for a touchdown in his first game, NFL game of his career. So talking about Dulcich for a moment, new regime coming in. He was a mid-round pick last year. He had some good moments. He's the ultimate. He can go one of two ways, right? He could be a great fantasy tight end sleeper who turns 411 yards and 2 touchdowns into 800 yards and 5 touchdowns. Or he could be a 500-yard receiver, and it's like, good rookie start, but Sean Payton didn't utilize him. Although I don't really buy that to be the case. Remember how much Sean Payton loved Jimmy Graham? I mean, they're not quite the same, 6'4", 245 pounds. It's a big target, but it's not as big as Jimmy Graham. So I think Dulcich is in line for a good season, and he's got the potential to be an all-time sleeper and go, I don't know why we were surprised by this. He had some really good moments last year in his rookie year. Hopefully this year he enters with a clean bill of health. He doesn't have a hamstring injury nagging him, and he can get out of the gate right out flying with the rest of the offense. That is it for today's show. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Subscribe if you have not already. Like the video. You know how the YouTube game works. If you like this content, you probably do because you made it all the way to the end of the video. Hit that thumbs up button and drop a subscriber as well.